Boy, they gave you a good discount on that.
Thank you.
Okay, 7,000.
Musical chairs.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that all members are in attendance. And I know it's been a little while since we've met, but if everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes from the July meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Under old business, we just have a few things to report. On the splash pad, we've met with, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, we've met with them and they've done some preliminary designs and we still have a lot of engineering to do, but this is one of the samples. We have different examples. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to lay a solid foundation and be able to add things to the splash park as we go along. So right now we're working through a lot of the engineering and, as I said, logistics, but they've really done a nice job trying to keep it themed. So it's because it's so much nature down at Abner Longley, so they're trying to keep it themed towards that. And so because you can't see in here all of them, but there's like the flower and some animals. And so this is a start. We've just met once, and we'll just keep you updated as we go along and meet with this. Diane, did you have anything else to add on this?
No, it was kind of exciting to see it get to this point.
It was.
And they had some great ideas. And I love the idea of it being phased in over time.
Yes.
Me too.
It was exciting to see the plans. Okay, so then, John, you want to update on the maintenance barn and the restrooms?
Yes, and also on the splash pad, the topography work has been done. A lot of the site work has been done. I'm pretty sure it's also done, along with the utility locate and all that. So, like you said, he's in a stage moving forward with that. The maintenance barns and the topography, he's working on the topography right now at Abner Longley Park. He's already completed the topography and site work at the maintenance barn / restroom and Memorial Park. Also the location for utilities and all that has been worked. We're working on right now, the engineer is working on design. We already have a design to attach the two maintenance barns. Excuse me, that work had been done some time ago, so he's just going to incorporate that on his structure as far as it goes in the construction. Documents and all that will probably be another month out before we have documents where we can put it out for bid and start getting prices. Also, with the restroom, trying to feel where the best location for that is. We were trying to accommodate for the baseball diamond, so we're looking at prices to see if we tear down the maintenance barn that's right next to the baseball diamond, so you can actually go from the baseball diamond into the restroom, or also be utilized in the park where you can get entrance in that way. That's something I don't know if it'll be cost effective, but we're going to get it priced. So that's where we are right now, still in the design phase. No, there won't be any renderings or any sketches for this until we get further along. Trying to figure out how close we can get as far as code will allow us to the other maintenance barn that we have. Even suggested possibly moving the restroom to the corner of the parking lot over by the volleyball courts. Just don't know that that's going to be working out. That's quite a bit of change for everyone. So we're looking at that, but getting prices for everything right now of different construction prices and then see what's feasible. So that's where we are on that stage of it.
That'd get rid of a lot of parking over there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the only thing about moving all that, all the infrastructure is already there for the current restroom, however, if we tear down a 1800s barn, all the construction costs and demo of it, and then rebuilding another barn, just don't know if that's going to be cost effective. And also, it's 40 days out of the year that the baseball, or 40 or 50 days out of the year that the baseball is actually utilizing that. So is it worth tearing down a barn, putting that in and all that? And if it's price-wise, if it's, good, we'll go for it. But I just find it hard to believe that we're going to tear down that barn. Even though it's a gravel barn, it isn't we kind of put the structure up, the siding and everything and the roof on that old barn to make it look uniform with the other barns. And they did that way before I was around. Yeah, but we're looking at all of that still, and that's where we are on that. And Kevin Krulik and for the engineers been very helpful on all the projects that we have. Everything's kind of run through Kevin, and that's very helpful. There we go.
John, the barn that you're thinking about replacing, is it going to be bigger than what you have at this point?
I don't know that it can be. There again, we haven't even looked. He's getting prices to see how much more construction, demo, and all that. I think it's not going to probably be feasible to do that. We have storage. We store all our Christmas lights. We built a loft in it. And there's also, with the structure and the new codes out, you have to have a certain type structure and all that.
Sure.
So
I just think if we do something like that, I think it needs to be looked at for future in the sense of making sure that it's big enough. I mean, obviously the park has grown, not just Memorial Park, but all of the park system has grown.
Sure has.
We're going to need that expansion at some point, and I don't see tearing one down and making one
smaller.
And then not, doing it all at once if that's,
And the other design, we already have the prints and blueprints for that, where we're attaching the other barns for that accommodation of more equipment. This restroom will also have storage on the back end of it, where we can also store not only the toilet paper and all our maintenance cleaning supplies and all that in there, but also chemical supplies, so we can.
And this will be a heated
Yes. We're
bathroom,
looking at
correct?
heated bathroom for Memorial Park, which I think will be well received, to say the least. But we should have that in the next 3 weeks to a month. Gary Ladd, a local engineer, is working on that project and moving right along. As I said, the site work on both these projects are already completed, along with the topography. Got on these surveyors, and they were right out, which is great.
Sounds good.
It does. Excited about all the projects. In the dog park, Shirley, John, and I are working on that. We're looking at fencing right now, the current fencing that we have. We're looking at different types. We're trying to see, we've heard some prices that are quite high, and all these contractors also want to see actual where the gates are going to be, the size of the gates, and actually meeting with Trace from the utilities tomorrow to find out what size gates he needs for his utility vehicles in the easement. And I imagine it's over 12 feet, so that's going to help with cost. But we're going to start having meetings about design and all that, and what type of fencing that we will be using. We've looked at composites, and it's very pricey, to say the least. So we'll be looking at those things. And that's all.
Any have any questions on any of these items?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move along to new business. We do have Casey Sampson on the agenda.
Yes, and I'm sorry he did not, there again, I didn't get a confirmation from Casey. We had talked a couple of times about a new event at Abner Longley Park. He's talking about a renaissance down at Abner Longley Park. It's in the informal stage, and he was seeing if it's available. He's already checked into the usage. It'd be around June of next year. I'll get a hold of Casey and have him on the agenda for next month. It's something that I think they are involved with quite a bit in that.
Reenactment.
Yeah, maybe Shirley, you know more than I do. It's
just-
Renaissance, or isn't it Renaissance?
It's reenactment of what, the French, one of the wars.
Yes, there you go. Way back.
I
when.
don't know.
Before the Civil War, yeah, before the Civil War, it's way back, old times.
Right.
But there again, I don't want to talk out of turn and find out what it actually is about, but he will be
Revolution
coming,
is what I was
yeah,
trying to
revolution
think there.
maybe. He's coming to the board next month then and see if you'll approve his event. And he'll have more details than I surely do.
Many years ago, there was a Renaissance fair at the old Indiana area. I remember, before old Indiana was even there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like jousting and all that.
I
kind
think
of
there,
activity.
yeah, I know that he's really enthusiastic and said it'd be a huge event. He said it'd be, and that's why he needs Abner Longley with all that room
Space.
down there, yes. And he didn't think of any other park other than that one right away. And obviously around the wooded area, the nature center that we have, or nature trails that we have back there. And it was just an informal couple of conversations, and unfortunately I couldn't reach out and get a hold of him to make sure that he was on for tonight. I think the confusing of when our park board meeting was. So
Well, we did change it,
that's
yeah.
my fault though, not Casey. So I apologize, he is not here this evening.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is David Murray. If you'd like to step up to the podium and state your name and address.
Thank you. I don't want to cut in line, so.
Yeah, I know. You're okay. They'll be all right.
Hello? Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is David Murray, and my wife and I live on the north side of Lebanon, and our address is 2522 Countryside Drive, Lebanon, Indiana 46052. And what brings me in here tonight, and I think it's pretty awesome that we have a full board, you know, that's says a lot about the town of Lebanon and you guys, is ordinance 100.03, use of metal detectors prohibited. And I wrote the mayor a 2-page letter actually over a month ago, and I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to read over that or not. But anyway, he, from that point, long story short, he found the right board. Miss Kelly Cook out of his office sent me here and encouraged me to come before the Parks Board. Now, the reason, if I could give you just a little background on myself, and hopefully I won't put anybody to sleep. I grew up in Anderson, Indiana, many moons ago, and after school, I went in the United States Navy for 4 years and served honorably and traveled all over the world. And then after that, I got out and was hired by a fire department down in Indianapolis, Indiana, and worked there for over 33 years. Retired as a battalion chief, worked my way up through the ranks. And my wife and I decided we wanted a small town friendly atmosphere to retire in. So we found a small town up there by the Y and the hospital and the fire station all together. And so we ended up moving there earlier this year. And one of the things, my hobby, I've been a amateur treasure hunter basically all my life, ever since I was a little kid. When I went to one of the parks in Anderson and came across a gentleman metal detecting. And the parks in Anderson, all of them are all metal detecting friendly. And but anyway, he took the time to educate me on it and spend time with me to show me the hobby and everything, and it really sparked my interest. Well, since then I've traveled all over, you know, I've been to Alaska, California, Nevada, Arizona, all over the United States, treasure hunting, metal detecting, and all that. And I was looking forward to metal detecting in the city parks in Lebanon. And I noticed that number 10 on the do not do list on the park, it's actually at the very bottom. It says no metal detectors allowed. Well, I found that kind of interesting, since there's really no county or state ordinances or laws against this. In fact, I surveyed some of the Lebanon police officers, and they weren't aware of any ordinances against it. But after further research, Miss Kelly Cook was able to find an old ordinance on it. And I think I could present a case, Ordinance 100.03, where it says no metal detectors. I think I could present a strong case where that could be overturned. And I just ask for you guys to have an open mind as I go over this with everyone. And I'll try not to be long. But I wanted to share with everyone some of the benefits of metal detecting. It's not like it was 30 or 40 years ago where you might have heard stories where, you know, people would dig up stuff and leave holes uncovered and leave the trash and all that. It's totally different nowadays, metal detecting. The equipment is far better where you can pinpoint the targets. And I can attest to you, probably 80% of the things I dig up are trash, which I always take out of the park. So I'm actually leaving the park better than what I found it. I've found sharp objects where kids could have stepped on. I've found cans. You know, a lot of times when the mowers, if a person, not intentionally, but accidentally goes over an aluminum can, there's shards that shoot out and all that, and I pick all that up. And not only me, but it's been my practice, my observance over the year that the hobby has become better and better, where people pick up the trash and take it and recycle it. And so, because they want to keep in everyone's good graces, you know, they don't want to, it would be foolish to dig a hole and leave it out, and then next time you go back, you're banned from it, you know. So everybody in the hobby of metal detecting kind of has a passion to look out for the hobby and to protect it. And in fact, I want to, you know, there's a lot of hobbies out there, and how many hobbies actually has a code of ethics? Well, metal detecting actually does. And there's different forms of it, but one of the ones I pulled up off the internet was Metal Detecting Code of Ethics. I will always obtain permission before I detect. I will respect all wildlife I encounter. I will, because a lot of times when you're out there detecting, squirrels will be like, hey, you're in my territory here, you know, what are you doing? But squirrels are real good about taking nuts and stuff and burying them and covering them up, but when they remove the nuts is when they leave little holes. And I've been out metal detecting before, like Sheridan, for an example. The parks there, they're real friendly too. John, the parks director there, I talked to him, and he actually came up and thanked me for removing the trash and stuff because he was watching me one day. And but the squirrels, in fact, leave little holes when they dig up the nuts. And I'm like, man, I hope no one thinks that's me doing that. But I will respect wildlife I encounter. I will take the time to educate the public while detecting. I will always fill in holes as found, no matter how small. I will share historical finds. I will always honor this great hobby. I will conduct myself in a professional manner. I will greet the public with friendliness. I will remove all trash found. I will recycle all trash items. I will leave the park better than I found it. I will never destroy property or tamper with signs. I will always honor the park's history. Metal detecting is a wonderful hobby that promotes good and love for our park. I mean, that's, you know, there's not a whole lot of hobbies out there, especially nowadays, that have a code of ethics, and metal detecting does. And some of the benefits, if I may share with you, of metal detecting, it's a great social experience, you know, where a lot of times when you're, just like when I was a little kid, I ran into that gentleman metal detecting, and a lot of times when I'm out there detecting, I'll have moms, kids, they come up to me and they want to watch me do it and see what I find. And a lot of times you find coins that aren't old or not worth anything, but it's fun to give them to the kids or, you know, things like that. In fact, some of my best finds have been lost items. Two that I can think of right off the top of my head is a elderly lady had lost an earring and from her deceased husband, and he gave her that for an anniversary gift. I found this after I found it and returned it to her. And and I looked at the earring, I'm like, because I looked at the one and I said, can you show me the one you still have? And then I went out and found it and gave it to her. But when I found it, I was like, well, this isn't, I was thinking it was valuable, you know, and I was like, you know, here you go. And then she told me the story behind it. And in another example, where I consider these some of my best finds, where I found a pocket knife that a grandfather had gave his grandson that he lost. And it was very sentimental. His grandfather wasn't alive anymore, and I was able to return that. And so it's good family bonding activity. You know, my grandkids, I have 3 boys, 3 grandsons, and they love to get out and treasure hunt with me and metal detect. And it's good exercise for the young and the old. You know, as a firefighter, you know, I've had my share of injuries over my 37 years of service. You know, I've had cancer, I've been blind from an explosion, I've had dislocated joints, herniated back, the list goes on and on. So one of the healthiest things I can do, the doctors have said, stay busy, you know, you got to stay busy. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy metal detecting is it affords, whether you're young or old, the opportunity to get out there and stay busy and metal detect and have fun. It teaches everyone to respect the park's history, you know, and enhances the sod and soil. I used to have my own landscape business. You know, people think, well, how can that help? Well, it helps aerate the sod and loosen it up. And not only that, you're removing trash from it. It cleans the park and environment from unwanted trash. It promotes a positive and friendly park experience. Whenever you guys, you know, we have a beautiful park, and my hat's off to the director. And I'm very proud of it and thankful for it. But whenever you drive by it, look over there, you see a lot of people using the pool, the ball diamonds, the sidewalks, the parking lots, but very rarely are you going to see anybody on the grass. And that would be another opportunity that we can, you know, fully use the park would be another example. And you can, like I already talked about, locate lost items, assist the police with recoveries. I've done that before. Opens the park up to additional citizens to use. So no matter what type of detector you're able to use, because they really vary in price, the hobby of metal detecting offers many benefits other than just the finds. There are very few hobbies that are as rewarding or as beneficial in so many ways than metal detecting. And I'd just like for you guys to consider that. It's an ordinance. You know, people say, what's Memorial Park? Well, you know, I'm an honorably discharged vet, and by no way is that hindering metal detecting in a memorial park. I mean, I've seen, you know, other things on the grass there. And, you know, earlier we were talking about building a splash park. I think that would be awesome. I know my grandkids would use it when they come over. They live in Fishers, and I'm allowed to metal detect there. But one of my goals is to get this ordinance changed so I can ride my bike or walk down there and metal detect. Right now I'm having to drive to Sheridan or Anderson or Indianapolis to metal detect, and I think Lebanon is far nicer than those towns, and I think we can have remove the label of not being allowed to metal detect in Lebanon. And it's really got nothing to do with it being a city park, memorial park, or a municipality. There's no ordinances against it. This was created by people a long time ago. And respectfully thank everyone for listening, and thank you for staying awake.
Mr. Murray.
Yes, sir.
You have done well expressing your ethics, how you would handle that. It still brings up the guarantee that anyone else would not leave a hole or tear up the ground.
Yes, and I can answer that. My wife, she goes, well, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. She works at the Y, and she's teaching kids right now swimming lessons. But here was my answer to her, because she goes, well, what if this happens? We know you don't. Well, I have never met anyone that doesn't. But I told my wife, I said, no matter if you're a policeman, fireman, teacher, whatever you are, you can always find someone doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons. But I can guarantee you that 99 point whatever percent, the people that are going to do it the right way far outweigh someone that might not be educated. And I don't know if you're familiar with YouTube or not. If you get on YouTube and pull up YouTube and watch the videos of metal detecting, it is hundreds of thousands of people all over the world doing this right now. And there's ladies, there's older gentlemen, young people that are out there metal detecting, and they're the ones that are educating everyone that don't know the hobby of metal detecting, how to do it, how to be respectful. They even teach you how to go door to door, and they show you how to fill your holes in and how to properly dig a hole. And so if anyone is interested in that hobby, they're going to be looking. In fact, when you buy a metal detector, they have instructions in there. They have a code of ethics that comes with it, as well as they're going to be watching YouTube videos on people finding things, and that's where they're going to get educated. So it's not a hobby of people that aren't respectful or don't care about the environment or don't care about what they find. You know, it's a hobby. It's like someone playing chess. You know, it's if they're going to honor the game and respect it, just like metal detecting. I could say the same thing about the baseball diamond, you know, where my son played baseball for years at Westfield. And, you know, there's a code of ethics in baseball, no different than metal detecting, really. You know, you want to honor the hobby, just like in baseball, you want to honor that game. And, you know, I can never guarantee you that, you know, no one's not going to fill a hole in, just like I can't guarantee you that when we all leave here, we're going to go over the speed limit. And, but common practice would dictate that if you're in Lebanon, you better go the speed limit, as well as this hobby. You're not going to find people going out there not filling in the holes or being respectful because they want to keep it going. They don't want to ruin it for anyone else.
Did the mayor or anyone explain to you why it's already on the list of do not do?
No, he didn't even know it was an ordinance against it. And neither did Kelly Cook until she researched it and found it. And they were, you know, he as well as Kelly Cook were very supportive in this. And they're the ones that sent me here in front of the park board. And like I said, I've surveyed police officers on this matter before, and they said there's no ordinance against it. Well, later I found out it was number 10 on the list of rules in the park. And then Mrs. Cook, after further research, she found it and then sent me a copy of it. And she said, I'm going to send you a copy of this because it is hard to find in the books. So
I'm kind of curious because I see here it was passed in 1988. I moved here in 92, and while I visited the parks before 92, I'm sure there's a story about what prompted them to put this on the books. Does anybody here remember or know of anything about that?
I could probably answer it. It was probably one bad apple that probably ruined it for everyone, and that was probably 30 years ago. And as I was talking to the director before everybody got here, it's come a long way now. You know, that was 30 years ago, and just like when I got hired over 33 years ago with the fire department, you know, a lot of things have changed over the years. And now you've got a hobby that's well respected. I mean, people actually go on metal detecting vacations all over the world to go metal detecting. And I just think, you know, I just want to be able to use my park on the town that I moved to, and we're not going to leave until we die. And I'm having to drive to Sheridan, Indianapolis, Anderson to go metal detecting, and I think that's too nice of a park not to be able to metal detect in and keep it nice.
I'm just curious, if you do happen to find buried treasure and it's park property, who becomes owner of the...
you know, I would love to be able to turn it over to the Historical Society, you know. and honor that. You know, that would be one way I would honor the park, you know. And I've got permission from farmers before to metal detect in their fields and stuff, you know, where the old homesteads used to be. And that's one thing I enjoy doing, is showing people, hey, this is what I found, you know, check it out. And they like looking at it too. And I'm always going, hey, you want any of this? And they just like looking at it. But, you know, I know in England there's a law where if you do find a treasure that's worth a lot of money, you have to turn it over to it's like a historical society, and then they pay you for it so they can keep it in the museum. But they pay you a fair market value for it. And, but I'm not in it to get rich. I'm in it just for the hobby, you know, because, you know, the things I find aren't worth a lot, you know, but it's fun to get out there, and it's good exercise. And
There's another hobby that takes place at the parks. I don't know if all you are aware of this or not. It's called geocaching.
Yes, and that's illegal too.
It's illegal?
On government property, it really is.
I've broken the law many times.
Yeah, I know.
My grandkids, I've done that.
No.
It's illegal?
Sure is. I found a cannon. It was shortly after, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, and it was a can, and didn't know whether to call, or in a package, and didn't know whether to call the bomb squad. They had it at the courthouse too. That was another
there's
incident.
several all over. You have several at the park right now.
And you can, and you put little notes in there and drop and that's another reason that it's outlawed on
really
government. And I think that's part of the rules in the caching. Yeah. I think that's part of the rules too, not to be put on government property, because bomb scares, what have you.
First one there gets
I know they are. We find them in our beds and everywhere at the park too. We sure
that's,
do.
you know, that is something I've heard of, but I guess the difference would be also they're hiding things.
Yeah.
Where I'm removing, you know, things.
Well, I guess I was trying to make a point that if that's okay, why wouldn't
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't realize it wasn't okay.
last 10 years.
But, you know, I realized it was a long time ago that the law was, or the ordinance was created, but I think it would be awesome if we could update it and make it more friendlier for us old guys and young people to get out there and metal detect.
I got a question. As far as depth-wise, what are you able to detect?
Well, my metal detector it wasn't my first one. My first one was one from Radio Shack, and it didn't cost very much. But this one, the one I have now, can tell you how deep it is, anywhere from on the surface, 1 inch, 2 inch. It'll tell you what it is, all that stuff. But typically, anywhere from 6 to 7 inches would be the deepest. And the majority of the targets are like 3 to 4 inches. So not as deep as like they would take a plug out on a putting green, something like that. So that's a good question, though. You know, it's not like I'm going to be out there with the backhoe or anything.
That was my next
Yeah.
point. I mean, you know, what keeps you from finding something 3 or 4 feet down and go, okay, you know, we've got to dig this
Well,
up.
I mean, my metal detector, they don't go that deep, and then also it would be, no one would, you know, dig that deep anyway.
Some do go deeper than 2 or 3 inches. Am I?
Oh, yeah, well, like mine can go
Yours
up
can
to.
go a foot, can't
Yeah, 5 to 6 inches, you know,
Okay.
mine
Yeah.
can go down, but typically if it's that deep, you know, nobody's going to mess with it.
A lot of them,
Unless they're out
we
on a
have
farm field or something, you
Yeah,
know.
we have a racetrack, an old racetrack down the south side, and I've had people call in saying, hey, we will split whatever we find, or we will, you know, and they want to dig it up, and that's what concerns me. We have several metal detectors that come out throughout the season that obviously it's an ordinance in place for a reason, so send them on down the road. He's a good guy, okay? He's a good guy. Others interrupt volleyball. We had that happen where they were playing volleyball. Somebody's out there disrespectful. And like he said, there's going to be bad apples, but it also poses a problem. Whose property is it? And yes, he's a good guy again that's going to return it, historical society, but it's those ones that aren't. And That's an ordinance for a reason. The park board can give a recommendation to the council, but we can't change the ordinance. We would have to go to the council themselves to change the ordinance. That is an ordinance in place. He's making the right steps to come to you. If you have a favorable recommendation, Lori or the park board president or myself would be happy to present it to the council, but they are in, there are quite a few. It is a very big hobby, and there's quite a few out there. Got a lot of traction, and then after the carnival, when the carnival leaves, people want to get out, and I've even had to tell the carnival people, it's not allowed to metal detect after your event. It's not allowed in the park, so.
So you've had many requests?
Many requests, yes.
One of the.
There again, I don't know. It is on, it is, and that's why it's a rule on there with the last rules that we had in this ordinance. They were updated, I think, even after this, and there is a whole park section. A lot of the police officers don't know all the ordinances that are in place. I can go through several that they weren't aware of that I had to make them aware of. That, with child molestation and those people not being allowed in the parks. Those are in the last 10 years that we put those in place. And totally different subjects, but the police aren't always in, and that ordinance book is that thick. Yeah. So they're not going to know all the ordinances. Yeah.
And we couldn't actually pass the ordinance anyway.
You could not
so
pass it. That's what I'm saying. If you want to make a recommendation or take it under advisement or discussion or what have you, but as far as that, I think you made a good presentation. However, just to let you know, there are several that come out each year and they'll be digging or in the way of the mowers, or like I said, about 5 years ago, somebody was in the sand volleyball and they just were out there and wouldn't move with the tournament. I think it was Western Boone girls coming in, and it's like, no, they've already reserved this and you need to move. And
so when they violated it, what's happened?
Send them away, basically.
Because it says,
they can be fined, yeah.
Yeah, there can be fines and all that. It's just normally most are respectful of our rules. They don't agree with them, and they can do it like Mr. Murray said. In a lot of other parks, there are a lot of other parks that don't allow it also. So it's one of those.
I don't know of any other parks. I'm not disputing what you said, but I know I'm having to drive long distances to do it when I have a park down for me. I wanted to keep this positive, but one of the things I could bring up is number 4 on the top 10 list of things not to do in the park is you're not allowed to have cars or trucks, vehicles like that in the grass. And what really motivated me was twice within the last 2 months I drove past the park and I saw cars, trucks, tents, tent stakes, cooking gear, and carnival stuff on the grass.
And special events also. So
yes,
that's
sir.
Totally something that is approved by the park board.
Right, I understand that. I'm not saying it doesn't, but what I'm saying is they were doing far more damage than a metal detectorist would do. And one of the things I've never met.
But I agree with you on that one. I'll just say my piece. People come out with knives too to dig this stuff up. That makes people unnerved. And you will admit you do have knives and other. Some people have carried knives out, and maybe you don't, and also rakes. So my recommendation would be to keep the ordinance in place. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I can tell where you were going with that.
Yes.
But one of the things I can assure you is that I don't know of any other parks other than Lebanon where you're not allowed to metal detect. And I know the 3 cities that I'm going to that you're allowed to. And I have never met anyone metal detecting, and I can assure you of this, that is not filling up their own holes or damaging anything.
Don't doubt that you haven't, yeah.
Yeah, and what I have experienced is people that have been working with kids and families, because they always want to come up and look at you and watch you metal detect. So, I mean, it's an old ordinance, and I would love to see it changed.
where else do you possibly go besides a park? So let's say, for instance, this doesn't happen. Where else, and you don't drive to go anywhere, where else do you go? I mean,
Well, one area that I could go is the farm fields. You know, I get permission from farmers and go out there, but I can't do that, obviously, the majority of the time because the crops are in or the ground's frozen. But after a harvest and after they till it up, you know, I have farmers that are more than happy to allow me out there, but that's only for a short period. But you want to go where people have been, you know, to find this stuff. So you want to go to the parks, and people go down in the beaches, you know, on vacation and areas like that, so.
You mentioned Indianapolis. Are the Indianapolis parks, do they allow for it?
Yes. I've been to Eagle Creek. Obviously, Eagle Creek's one of the largest parks in the United States, city parks. And they allow me to metal detect there, and
Allow you to dig in Eagle Creek.
yes, yep, sure are. And I've been to other parks. I haven't, as time has went on, I've been less and less able to go to some of the parks in Indianapolis because it's so dangerous down there now. So it's just too dangerous to go down there on some of the parks I used to metal detect.
We also have the hot pond where there is no digging allowed, so we would have to put a stipulation in that because of the line. That is a DNR, you know, EPA, another environmental issue.
I would make a motion that we not change the wording on it.
No, I just want to make a comment. You have made a very good presentation, and you, as John said, you are the good guy. But
Yes.
I know the history we've had with a lot of the metal detectors, and it hasn't been favorable. It has not been good. Because there was a horse track down at Southside Park, and we had a huge problem there because that they were coming and, you know, they left destruction, and we've had that more than once. So I respect what you're trying to do, but I'm not favorable of changing the ordinance because of the history we've had.
My motion stands then.
Okay, we do have a motion to send it. Are we going to send it to the council with an unfavorable?
You want to make a motion that we do not make a recommendation to the council, is that right?
I make a motion that we can send it to the council if we want to, that we don't agree with the change.
Well, then we wouldn't send
We
it.
wouldn't send it. You're making a motion then to not change the ordinance.
Okay, then that's what I'm making the motion for.
Okay, I have a motion to not change the ordinance. Do I have a second? Okay, I'll second it.
I'm not sure.
What?
Isn't the council the only one that can change it?
They can change the ordinance, but we have to send a recommendation to the
So that
council.
we don't even want to send the recommendation as right? Or do you?
We're not wanting the ordinance changed. We can send it with an unfavorable recommendation
Okay,
to the council
All
if
right.
you want to change.
I'm with you now.
You want to change the motion to that?
No, well, whatever Mike said, it's his motion. I just wanted to be clear on it.
Yeah, because we can send it to the council with an unfavorable recommendation.
Got it.
Okay. So I'm going to second the motion not to change the ordinance. All those in favor, do you want to do a roll call vote?
yes.
Okay.
John does.
No, that's your decision.
No, he-
No, I meant.
okay, Diane Scott,
I'm on the fence.
if you want to, we could take it under advisement and,
More discussion?
Please, no.
I'm on the fence as well, to be honest with you. So
okay, so,
Let's just take it under.
Okay.
I think it needs to be taken under advisement. I think we need to understand why that was put in place, when it was put in place, and
I really doubt that you're going to be able to find that out. I mean, I'm thinking it was probably put into place because we had issues. at that time, but 1988, I would say you're probably going to have.
I don't know who the parks director was. Was it Linsmeyer? Andrea Linsmeyer?
Yeah, it was Andrea
Well,
Linsmeyer.
I can find that out. I mean, I can ask Andrea. I'm kind of like Diane, I am on the fence.
Okay.
I mean,
You had a very compelling presentation, and yet I
Yeah.
really respect John Messenger, our director's stance on this. So that's why I'm struggling with it, and it's not really our
I'm a
decision to
metal
make
detector
because it's a council
myself.
decision.
You've
I
spoken
do
well
metal
for
detecting.
yourself,
I
believe me.
understand.
You really have.
And your hobby.
Yes.
I did it. I did it, of course, back in the 60s, as I was telling Mr. Murray. I understand, but he's respectful. There are so many that aren't respectful, and he can say 99%, and boy, I see it
Like I
quite
said, I
a
know
lot
the
more
history
frequent,
we've
and-
had.
And he doesn't have knives. Some have little baskets, and they have little spoons, and he's a good one. He's good. No doubt a vet and a very, very
But it's not a
well-respected man.
No.
Could we not do something, and I'm just throwing this out there, I mean, I know nothing about metal detecting. I mean, I'm absolutely nothing.
But like Lori said too, down at South Side, the horse
Understood.
track, everybody wants to go down there and dig it up.
But I guess my
And that's our
question-
football field.
Right.
I mean, I just have issues. We have sprinklers.
You know-
in a couple.
If I may, maybe a compromise, that might sound strange, is you had the power to say, if you're worried about damage, you could actually say, I've heard about this for other things, you could say for a $25 permit per year, you're allowed to metal detect. And then when you're stopped, if you don't have a permit, then you're not allowed to metal detect. And so that would be more revenue coming back from the Parks Department. And also, you could have them sign a contract saying, if we come up to you and find out you're damaging, your permit is going to be withdrawn. That would be a compromise, as well as I'd be willing to spend $25 a year for a permit. And then you have everybody checking in to meet the director and
Saturday.
to make sure everybody's on the up and up and nobody's sneaking around doing it.
Well, could there not be limitations on when and where it's allowed? So that-
Well, I mean, you're not going to do it in the wintertime. You're not, very seldom is there anybody even in the grass area as well as, but this would be a compromise to say, hey, we've got a revenue now coming in, and also we're making sure that, you could even have them read this metal detecting ethics here, and sign a contract saying, with this permit, you have to fill in all your holes, and if you're ever asked to leave, we're pulling your permit, and we're keeping the money.
And
So,
could we make this, if something's decided, could we make it a Monday through Friday thing to where it wasn't on the weekend? I mean, obviously, there's not somebody at the parks as far
Yeah.
as the office on Saturday, Sunday.
right. Well, the only thing is, I like going on the weekends because typically nobody's mowing and you're not in anyone's way. Because if someone's mowing, I don't do it because I don't want to get in anyone's way when they're working.
Okay, well, if we're going to have
There's a
further
motion
discussion,
for- yeah.
do
Let's
what?
table it.
Yeah, well,
And
Well, I mean, he can
because-
make his motion, and, I mean, we can vote against it, and
Well, no, but let me finish here a second. What you're proposing is something that we would have to take to the attorney. And I'm also, I welcome your ideas, but the policing is going to be an issue, not police per se.
Monitoring.
But monitoring and that is going to be an issue.
Responsibility.
Yeah. But as far as issuing permits, that would have to go to the attorney. So if.
Well, I was just throwing out a compromise,
right, and
maybe.
that's why I
Yeah.
said, I totally respect that. So, Mike, do you want to go on with your motion? You want to rescind it and we table it and have further discussion?
I can't imagine any more discussion, truthfully.
Okay.
And no, I don't want to table it because I think it's an insult to our parks director, what you're talking about doing.
Okay, I will go ahead and second it because I do feel that way about it. So, the roll call votes. So we have a motion and a second to not change the ordinance. So roll call votes. Diane?
No, but I would like the opportunity to investigate how other parks are able to accomplish this without the issues that we are concerned about.
Okay. Karen?
I'll vote to accept the motion.
Okay, Shirley? Okay, the motion was made to not change the ordinance. We have a motion and a second to not do anything. So you're voting for the ordinance? Okay. John?
I am voting against it. I would like to learn a little bit more about it before I make my decision.
Okay. Well, we have 4 to not change the ordinance and 2 noes. So right now, the vote is to not change the ordinance.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the director's report.
Okay. First, we closed the Memorial Park pool, and to let you know that we brought in more money than we did last year, approximately $5,000 more than last year, and we didn't open it 2 weeks later than what we did because of Mel Canyon. Mel Canyon's going to be moved up, so it won't interfere with the opening of the park.
Pool, yeah.
And I think that's great. It went off good, and it's pretty well received, so anyway, that was great news. We're in the process of letting the chemical get out of it before we throw it down the sanitary sewer. And you have to wait until the chemicals are out of it. They don't want any chlorine or acid and all that, so we're letting those run out rather than wasting money on dechlor and all that. So as soon as that gets done, we'll be draining the pool, looking at improvements and looking at painting the vessel. We have a lot of areas that are in need, and obviously fixing some concrete issues and just typical maintenance that we'll do on that. But we haven't painted it in 5 years, and it's due for a paint job, so we'll probably be painting it. Trying to do it in the spring is almost impossible because we're trying to get the thing open and going, and the rains come in. So we'll try and get that done yet this fall. I think we have enough money in our budget to cover all that. So, and you have copies, I think, of all of the budget. I think you'll have that to show where we are. There again, our pool passes, I'll give you all those numbers at next meeting too. We increased on a lot of line items, obviously, and a lot more patrons. Our first ever mother and son superhero party went well. We had over 230 attendees. There again with Batman, Iron Man, and Spider-Man, and they were good. They were really good. Had face painting. Anyway, I was out there and got put to work right away. So if you visit those events, be ready to work. No, it was really good. I want to thank the face painting was sponsored by Tad Brainer, and Tad Brainer sponsored the superheroes, and Farmers Bank sponsored the face painting. Face painting was awesome. They did a real nice job. Had people. We were going to shut off the line of face painting because they were on a timetable and we couldn't keep them any longer. They had to get going, and getting ready to shut the line down and let somebody else through, and they came from Avon. So I thought that was pretty cool, and Brownsburg, they thought it was pretty neat because they're going to copy it now. So anyway, just saying. It's something for we have the daddy-daughter, so it was really nice to have a mother-son event, and Allison did a great job on something that she thought up, so I want to commend her too. And Taylor's there working side by side. It's great. Our dates for Fright Forest are 25th, 26th, 27th. We're currently looking for volunteers for all 3 nights. We're looking for scene designers as well as anybody that wants to help. We can use them, guides, you name it, scenes. They can contact Allison. We actually have another meeting coming this Thursday. Those are ramping up. They're about every week now. So contact Allison at the Parks Department, and we'll get you lined up with helping out there. Lebanon Youth Football and Boys and Girls Club Soccer are both underway. Soccer, I think, has their first this Saturday. They've had a couple bad weekends where rain, monsoons have come in, so they'll get going. However, they did play some youth football this last Saturday. How they did it, I don't know. Those poor kids and parents that have to watch them. It's soaking wet. But they seem to be going very well. I did have a complaint at Reese Park where we need to make it ADA compliant, and so we are looking into ADA compliance on the curbing so they can get their wheelchair up on the grass. And that's something that I thought that curb could take, but obviously with their wheelchair, so we will be correcting that and looking into it. The Civil War reenactment is the end of this month. It isn't, you can go to Turning Leaves in Thorntown next weekend and not worry about this. And anyway, the 28th, 30th at Memorial Park, looking forward to them. It's going to be bigger and better. I think Linda Ridgway came, got money from Food and Beverage, so it was neat to see the city helping her out with that. And it's a small group of volunteers, and I think that's what I'm seeing in all these different groups is they just keep dwindling with their volunteers. But I think 3 ladies just bust their tail on that.
They do.
Yeah, they really do.
It was amazing, the numbers of when it started and
yes.
how many actually come now compared to that. It was like 250 some different,
Oh,
correct?
geez, and Diane can appreciate too that the schools, I think Harney and Stokes both do their Civil War history right in that time period, and they get extra credit. So you see these kids with papers, and it's pretty cool. So I think it's good that the school system's involved with that too. We're currently repaired a few sidewalks, 39, we're having it repaired this week. Obviously the weather's great, so we'll be, we had to get permits from the state to do any work along that sidewalk out there. I did want to take a note, we had a passing of a couple people this week that were very important to the Parks Department. One of them, Dave Richards, he was a trustee for the Ruth Brookshire and Dave Richards passed away. I'll say I met with him 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and he gave us a great donation for trees. And I want to thank the Ruth Brookshire, trustees for that, but it was nice to talk to Dave. Sorry to see him pass, but he's in a better place than all of us anyway. But another one was Terry Williams, a friend that I met at the park when we started this hot pond fiasco, and he was instrumental in helping us. He even called the governor and got a governor representative at the table, which sped up the process a little bit, if you can believe it, after 4 years. But also all our benches. He donated all the benches around the hot pond. And his craftsmanship was so good. There again, he had to bring in a prototype to see that it met our standards with countersunk and rounded corners and safe for everyone. I'll be darned if he didn't build them throughout all the park systems. So all those are for Terry Williams, and miss him dearly anyway.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Again, in a better place.
John,
He is in a better
didn't we talk about that and maybe do something in memory of
Yeah,
Terry?
I will be purchasing some trees and both memories of both of those.
Yeah, I think that would be,
they're
they would
very
like
good
that.
people,
That
yeah.
would be appropriate.
We will be purchasing trees here in the future. We aren't going to try and do them at 90 degrees because we lost several of them when, I swear, we get these rains and it cools off, think it's good, and boom, here comes the 90-degree heat, and John will tell you.
You just got to water them twice a day. I don't understand why you can't do that.
I hear you. We can put the bags out there and everything else, but sorry to see those two go, but I want to say we do have a new fountain at the hot pond. It has lights. If you haven't driven by there at night, it's really nice. All our cameras are about up. We have more cameras at Abner Longley. We have them at the hot pond and also out on the trail. We have 3 that are not hooked up yet, but they are installed. We just have to hook them up. So we're having that done as we speak. Taking down trees. We've had numbers of trees. We're still taking them down at Abner Longley. We're working on the trail. Then we're going to start in the Conservation Club and start work there. There again, extremely busy. I want to thank the Don Montgomery and the School Corporation. Central has playground equipment for kindergartners. It's an old fire truck. Removed it today, and it's in the park system. We haven't really figured out where we're going to install it. They were going to get rid of it, and here I am. I'm a dumpster diver from way back, so yeah, it meets all our all the safety requirements. So I wanted it, and that's probably a $20,000 gift there themselves that we will be installing. So looking forward, there's a Parks and Rec at the conservation at the what is it down there at the Indianapolis, the what is it? Anyway, Parks and Rec is holding a great big at the convention center. That's what I'm trying to get. Sorry. At the convention center, and looking forward to that. Todd and I are going down, but really excited, and hopefully we have a little bit of money left that maybe we can make a deal at the end of the day. We're going on the last day and see if we can
Good call.
take it home for them, yes, for half the price or something, I tell you. We will be looking into that. I think a neat thing is those climby like rope, and if I could find something like that, I think that'd be a great feature for the kids. So anyway.
We ever get a handicap swing?
Still working on those, and we'll be looking at those too. Yeah, no, I saw 4 kids on that baby, mom and baby swing the other day, and there again, getting back to the metal detector, he's a great guy, but there are a lot of them, and I know it's tough, and I will look into Eagle Creek and some of the other parks and see what, but there again, there are guys out with knives, and they have scared people, and unfortunately, nice man, that's a nice guy, and he's a good guy. It's in there for a reason, and appreciate support, and there again, I feel for him, but anyway, that's all I had. Any questions?
Anything else to come before the board?
I move we adjourn.
We have to pay the claims.
Pay the bills. My fault.
You're jumping.
My fault.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to pay the claims,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Okay, Karen's gonna,
And now, I move that we adjourn.
okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Sorry for voting against it. I truthfully feel like it needs to be looked into.